So here we have an example of a reference list, or what is commonly referred to as a works cited list for the research essay done in APA style. So you have to remember that is the method of referencing that we're using for this particular assignment. So it looks different when you use MLA or what's called U of Chicago. So under this, notice that each of the entries is out to the left margin, and then everything within the entry is indented underneath it. So each time you come out to the margin, that tells your reader that it is a new reference or a new source that you went to for information. Notice that it is always a name, last name, followed by a comma, followed by a first initial, followed by a period, and then the date the information was posted, in parentheses, followed by a comma. What comes next is the title of the article, not the title of the magazine or newspaper, but the title of the article that it was written and called by the person who wrote it, the author. Following that is where the article was found. So sometimes that's an online source like this one. Sometimes it's a chapter in a book like this one. Sometimes it's going to be a magazine, what we call a periodical like this one. So you need to make sure your reference cards were done correctly so that you can simply transfer them into this list. The other thing you should be aware of is it is alphabetical order by last name of author. And for some things you don't have an author. Michigan State Government, National Geographic, University of Guelph, those are not authors, but they are who paid for the information to be published, to be posted. So in this case, when you have hellomichigan.com, we know that it's probably the state government, or in Canada it would be a provincial government or a municipal government that would pay for information on what sounds like tourism for their state. National Geographic is a nationally actually internationally recognized organization. We automatically assume that they are valid and reliable, and you don't have to worry about somebody thinking they're not. So instead of an author, we just simply say the organization is the source, and then further down you put in the URL to say exactly where it came from. The University of Guelph down here is similar. So you have a pamphlet that was titled Continuing Education, it was titled Recruitment and Retention Best Practices for the Adult Learner. This particular department is who put out that particular article or pamphlet, and it was on this web page, which I found on this date. So you have to make sure that you're following the order of name or source, date it was published, title of the article, whether it was online or within a print source, where you found it in terms of the site or the journal, and then the date you found it. If you put all of that in, you're covered. Notice the other thing that we do here, if it was found on the databases, and we used a lot of them as we were going through this process, you don't have to then put in the URL for that source, that article out of that magazine. You just have to simply say you found it on ProQuest or Gale or InfoTracker, whichever one of those databases you used, and that should take care of it. So if you follow those steps and you follow the models that you've been provided, this will get you a number of marks that the rubric has a separate area just for this, just for the reference list. So make sure you adhere to all of those requirements. These are the rules. They're not mine. They are the rules of how to do a reference list properly according to APA style.